Hi, it's Jim. Promised you the answer to yesterday's skill testing question. If you don't know what it was, go listen to yesterday again. And the answer is yes, the answer is that ChatGPT's agent can go to our website, find out where you contact people, and send a message. It even remembered my name to fill it in when I hadn't given it that instruction. One piece, though, it stumbled on the CAPTCHA. And I've heard that some people have said that ChatGPT has gotten past CAPTCHAs. It couldn't get past ours. Anyway, that's the answer. Here's the show. SpaceX expands Starlink to support direct device IoT connectivity. A cyber attack hit St. Paul so hard the National Guard was deployed. China summons Nvidia over alleged backdoor risks in AI chips. AI shifts career priorities as top students ditch high-risk tech roles. And a CEO lays off 150 workers after replacing them with AI. Welcome to #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. SpaceX is expanding Starlink's reach into the Internet of Things. The company has launched a new service called Starlink for Cellular IoT. That allows connected devices like smart meters and sensors to link directly to its satellites without any hardware changes. The service uses existing LTE standards, meaning it can communicate with unmodified 4G IoT devices already deployed in the field. It started with a trial in New Zealand for beekeepers, an ideal test case of isolated contact, where 24/7 monitoring in remote areas is a real asset. This initial use case highlights a broad range of other low-bandwidth applications which are possible: GPS trackers, pipeline monitors, remote weather sensors, smart agricultural equipment, areas that often struggle with patchy cellular coverage or require expensive legacy satellite links. Starlink is able to bypass the need for proprietary hardware by tapping into standard LTE chips already embedded in millions of devices, and that could allow it to scale more quickly and undercut existing satellite IoT services while partnering with terrestrial carriers to fill in the gaps. Starlink is currently seeking FCC approval for the necessary bandwidth to support the new service, which it expects to be operational by 2026. We generally keep our security stories for Cybersecurity Today, our sister podcast, but occasionally stories cross over into headline tech news, and they're just impossible to miss. A cyber attack has crippled the city of St. Paul, Minnesota, prompting officials to call in the National Guard for support. The breach affected multiple municipal systems, including those responsible for payroll, licensing, and even remote work access. The breach affected multiple municipal systems, including those responsible for payroll, licensing, and remote work access. The city confirmed that hackers gained access to internal IT infrastructure, with investigators describing the intrusion as deep and widespread. Officials say they still don't know the full scope or whether any personal data was compromised. The Minnesota National Guard's 177th Cyber Protection Team has been deployed to help contain and assess the damage. The team specializes in helping state and local agencies recover from cyber attacks, often working alongside federal agencies. City officials have not yet said who is behind the breach or what methods were used, but one source told Ars Technica that the attack may have been ongoing for months before detection. This raises further concerns about the city's ability to detect and respond to threats in a timely manner. But St. Paul just joins a growing list of municipalities that have been hit by ransomware and other forms of cybercrime, often with limited IT resources to defend themselves. Chinese authorities have summoned Nvidia representatives over alleged cybersecurity risks tied to its H20 chips. These chips were designed specifically to comply with U.S. export controls, which limit the power of AI hardware sold to China. According to reports, China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology warned that the H20s could contain backdoor vulnerabilities that pose a national security threat. Officials say the chip's architecture may allow unauthorized access or remote control, though no technical evidence has been made public. The H20 is a modified version of Nvidia's high-end AI processors created after Washington tightened restrictions on advanced semiconductor exports. It's one of the few chips Nvidia can still sell in China, making it a critical part of the company's revenue strategy in that region. Exports of even this scaled-down version of the H20 had been prohibited until Jensen Huang met with Donald Trump, and Trump decided to let Nvidia sell the chips to China. Huang made the case that this was an incredible loss of revenue that could go towards creating American jobs, and secondly, that allowing China to pursue its own chip without using the H20 was merely creating another competitor. On the backdoor issue, Nvidia has denied any wrongdoing, stating that its products comply with all U.S. laws and contain no hidden functions. An Nvidia spokesperson said, "Cybersecurity is critically important to us. Nvidia does not have any backdoors in our chips that would give anyone a remote way to access or control them." Still, the investigation highlights growing suspicion from Beijing towards foreign-made AI hardware, especially from U.S. companies. And Nvidia isn't getting off any easier at home. The deal to sell Nvidia chips to China has raised some hackles in the U.S. Congress. In May, Representative Bill Huizenga, a Republican from Michigan, and Representative Bill Foster, a Democrat from Illinois, introduced the Chip Security Act that would require high-end chips to be equipped with security mechanisms to detect smuggling or exploitation. This may be the root of China's suspicion, but the bill has not moved through Congress since its introduction. In these times of heightened geopolitical tension, both the U.S. and China racing to secure supply chains and AI dominance, Nvidia is walking a very fine line. My son called me the other day, and he was planning a shift in careers. He's currently an incredibly talented video editor, but work is scarce. So these next two stories are for him and for those kids who might be struggling. As AI tools become more capable, students and workers are rethinking career choices based on which jobs are most likely to be replaced. Microsoft recently published a study which included a list of roles at risk, and it's not great news for coders or for announcers for that part. The jobs most at risk from AI include machine learning engineers, that was a surprise for me, coders, data entry clerks, game testers, call center reps, and news announcers. Not so sure. I like that one. There is also tutors and proofreaders. The jobs least at risk included plumbers, electricians, construction workers, nurses, but also included some that I think I'd question: cybersecurity analysts, human resources professionals, lawyers, and business consultants. Anyway, you can find the full report with the complete lists of the top 40 in each category through the link in our show notes. But you probably get the idea from this, and apparently so do students who are figuring this out on their own. One Stanford student told Axios that she's ditching AI development to work on food security, something she sees as both meaningful and job safe. Others cited rescinded job offers and saturated applicant pools. The sentiment is echoed in a broader survey from CPA Practice Advisor, where 65% of Gen Z workers said they're considering switching to the skilled trades. Many pointed to better job security and lower automation risk in fields like plumbing and electrical work. Funny, my dad always supported my artistic ambitions, but he also encouraged me to learn some basic skills like typing, which actually got me my first IT jobs. I wonder if today he'd tell me to learn plumbing. With all the AI tools at my disposal, as we struggle to find someone to fix our bathroom sink, I am starting to believe there really are some jobs that will be harder to replace. And although IT has been a great career for me, stories like this next one make me hesitate to recommend it to any young person. The billionaire co-founder and CEO of software giant Atlassian, Mike Cannon-Brookes, announced that 150 people would be laid off, with jobs being replaced with AI tech. Cannon-Brookes made the announcement over a video call from his home. Affected staffers are expected to be paid for the next 6 months, softening the blow a little at least. And the news comes out after OpenAI CEO Sam Altman warned that entire job categories, including customer support roles that took a hit at Atlassian, could be wiped out by AI. Altman said, "Now, you call one of those things and AI answers. It's like a super smart, capable person. There's no phone tree, there's no transfers. It can do anything that any customer support agent at that company can do." With that and the progress that has been made on coding with AI, apparently Atlassian and other companies are taking him up on that. Meanwhile, Atlassian's other billionaire co-founder, Scott Farquhar, defended the layoffs, but he also told reporters that Australia's copyright laws should be revised so AI companies had free rein to mine data unobstructed. There have been a lot of layoffs in tech. Why am I getting my socks in a knot over this one? Part of it's disappointment. As I said, I met some of the Atlassian team a few years back, and I admired what those folks felt and showed was their culture. And I get it that companies have to compete. I've had to lay off people myself, although that was only after I'd taken pay cuts and even in the end stopped paying myself to see if we could save jobs. Atlassian pointed to its code of ethics justifying its mass layoffs. They said, "Our value of build with heart and balance is about making the hard, right decisions with passion, empathy, and care." I think you can call this whatever you want. I don't think you can call it ethics. First of all, one of their founders at the same time he's talking about layoffs is telling reporters that copyright laws should be revised so AI companies have free rein to mine data unobstructed. It's a complex topic, I admit, but I'm wondering how Atlassian would feel if we grabbed their code, used it to teach an AI to build a clone of their system, and then gave it away for free. And then the other CEO, Ken Brooks, already has been under fire about his ethics this year. He claims he's a climate advocate, yet bought a personal jet for upwards of $75 million. Here's what he said in a LinkedIn post back in March. "I'm not denying I have a deep internal conflict on this," he wrote. You know, I'm sorry. Sometimes the hypocrisy is a little hard to take. And by the way, this is toning it down from my first draft of the story. But we're at an inflection point in our history. Sam Altman is acknowledging it. Dario Amodei is talking about it. Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, is talking about it. And we can engage in wishful thinking that somehow AI will create more jobs than it will eliminate. The logic that it's always happened this way with technology. But the reality is that a lot of people, including our children, are experiencing a different reality, even in what is still the early stages of the AI transformation of our world, economy, and our society. And if we think that somehow we're going to have this consolidation of power and money, and we're going to find a way to have an equitable distribution of the wealth that AI creates, that has no historical precedent. If we make an argument that history will repeat itself, the example that a company parts with 150 employees and the CEO buys his own jet is probably a good example of how AI wealth is more likely to be distributed. The idea that employees are disposable isn't new. The idea that senior leaders should be paid vastly more than others isn't new either. In the S&P 500, CEO to employee pay ratios are at an incredible high historically of about 285 to 1. But then, if we look at software and technology firms, the difference in those earnings is a quantum leap. It's often ranging from 400 to 1 at the bottom up to more than 1,000 to 1 in recent years, which means the CEO is making 1,000 times more than the average employee. Now, I will accept that at this point, you may not share my pessimism or my suspicion. Or you might simply say that this is the economic system that made us great. If we want future prosperity, there are going to be some winners and some losers. But I would make 2 points. I read another story about a CEO of a Midwestern firm who felt that he was going to share the benefits of AI with his staff. They could have shorter work weeks. His ethics are apparently different. What's the solution? I'm not sure that I put myself in a position of saying I've got all the answers. I would just like it better if we'd ask the questions openly and have an honest discussion. So, if we're going to agree that a company's relationship with its employees is purely transactional, don't call it ethics. Just cut the jobs and cut the crap. I think that AI can bring us some great things, but I'm having a real tough time being honest with myself and still having an idea about what to tell my kids. That's my quandary. That's my opinion. I will be glad to hear yours. And you can reach me, as always, on LinkedIn or via our website at technewsday.ca or .com. You can use the Contact Us tab. While you're there, you can find the show notes and links from today's stories. I'm your host, Jim Love. It's a long weekend in Ontario, Canada, where I live, so I'll be on the weekend show, but back with the news on Tuesday. And for all of you, have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.